Well, welcome back to Radio Nerd America. It's been a little while since we've been on the air. As always, I am Michael, here with
Alan Lugo.
First things first, this is our 1 year anniversary, Alan.
Yeah, I think you said just a few days ago was the 1 year. When we kicked it off, we needed to wait. Because of our schedules, we said let's wait until the winter.
Yep.
Here in Michigan, it's cold and you don't have much daylight, so things calm down a little bit. So here we are again in winter, ready for year two.
Yep, and I think we initially set out promising to do 2 episodes a month. And I think with this episode, we're at 17, so we didn't quite make 1.5 a month, but we're still here and we're still trying.
Hey, on YouTube, it's just a list of episodes. You can't tell when and how often they were done.
This is true. But we're geeks. We have day jobs. We're still here. We're going to keep geeking out about various things. So
we have a lot to catch up on, and we have sort of our opening segment is going to be somewhat of a lightning round of catching up on all the stuff we didn't get a chance to talk about. I don't know, which one do you want to start off with first?
Well, let's start with probably the latest thing, or not the latest, but the thing that happened the longest back would probably be Grand Rapids Comic-Con.
Yeah, so that's the local con here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It started out, I don't know how many years, maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
Not even, like 4 or 5.
Because I remember I went to the first one when it was in like some high school or something.
Yeah, like Rogers High School, I
think. It was, really small. The rate of growth over these past 5 years, though, has been pretty much exponential, though. Now they're in the big DeVos conference hall or whatever, which is
DeVos place, yeah.
the main conference hall of the city. And they pretty much, last year they all but filled it. I wasn't there this year because I was traveling, but did you go?
I did go. And they filled it again. In fact, it was much more packed than the previous year, last year. The aisles were more narrow, and some people were complaining about that. But also, they've also expanded out another whole hall when they were doing, like, the people on stage doing their talks and whatnot, and they had a bunch of activities and stuff in there. So every year it gets bigger.
So I think next year we have to start planting some seeds to maybe get a podcast on site there or something.
Oh, I like that. That's a good idea. I'm down.
I don't think anybody's really representing the Grand Rapids area nerd podcasts at this moment. I think we have a monopoly on that market.
There we go. So we have to be there. It's a must.
If I'm not traveling again, I'm always traveling at that time for work, which is a real bummer. So we'll try to make it work. So who were the highlights? There was a couple big names. Wasn't Billy D. Williams there? Am I crazy?
Yeah, and I missed him, unfortunately. I did see Gates McFadden was there, Dr. Crusher from Star Trek. For me, one of the big highlights, personally, Mike Zeck, comic book creator and artist. One of my favorite all-time characters is the Punisher. And part of that has to do with Mike Zeck because he drew and did the covers for the Punisher Limited series in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And I have those issues, and they're prized possessions of mine. And he did reprints of all 5 of the covers in like this 18 by 24 size. And he digitally remastered them, so they look phenomenal. And then he was selling them, and then he sold them and signed each one. So I bought all those, and then also he did a black and white cover, which was a reprint of the cover of, I think, one of the trades that he had done as well. So I met with him, talked to him, gushed a bit as a fanboy. I got my picture with him, and then, like I said, bought some of his art. So I dropped some coin there. But there were a lot more people. Kevin Sorbo was there.
Oh, God.
If you're into Hercules or Andromeda or anything along those lines.
He's still on that circuit, huh?
He is. Dude, some of these guys, Lou Ferrigno was not there, which surprises me.
Oh, yeah.
Only because when I used to go to the Chicago Con, he was there every year. And that's his circuit, man. I mean, I really wonder how many of these people make a solid living just going from con to con.
Yeah. I mean, I know as the con gets bigger, they'll probably start pulling in some old WWF wrestler guys. I know they do some of the con circuits too. But it was good. Lots of booths there selling new toys, and also a lot of people usually selling their old collection stuff, right? Or people that.
Yep, I walked out of there with a stack of trade paperbacks. I spent probably about $80 on comics. It was a good time. I'm glad to see it's growing. I'm enthused to go next year. I do admit the Dutchman in me.
The price for admission is growing up also.
Yes, it is.
I knew that's where you were getting at.
Well, it's like, $24 now for the Sunday pass, which I admit we were there for several hours, so I probably got my money's worth. But
Yeah, and the Sunday was more expensive or less? One of the days was more, because I remember thinking, I'm going to have to try to go there at the cheaper day, but...
I can't remember. I like the Sunday personally because going to cons before in the past, I know when it gets closer to the end of the con, you can get some good deals.
Yeah, but also stuff's picked over, too.
That is true.
So
that
you
is
gotta,
true.
Pick your poison there.
That is true. You make a good point. But I was very happy with the comics I bought. Two in particular, Empire by Mark Waid and Barry Kitson. They had both the Empire trays there. Those were in my wish list on Amazon for the longest time. And in fact, I almost pulled the trigger a couple weeks ago. They were like $15, $16 each. I found each of those for $5 a piece. So that's just a personal, hey, I got a good deal. And I'm very happy.
Okay, so let's keep going down the list here, keep things moving to catch up on everything. The next thing we have on the list is the latest Marvel release, Thor Ragnarok.
Yes. What did you think? I know you went.
Yeah. You
went with your wife, and she's not a geek.
Right. She's not, and we both enjoyed it. I would give it 2 thumbs up on the 2 thumbs scale. I think it's pretty easy to say it's the best Thor movie. But we can get into some details there, because I think you liked the second one, didn't you?
I have to admit, I actually did like the second Thor movie. I'm one of the few people that enjoyed it. It's not a great movie, and I don't know that I've watched it more than twice. I like that it went a little bit darker, and I don't know, maybe I just really enjoy the back and forth between Thor and Loki.
Yeah, yep.
So, that said, I get why people think it's a bad movie. So... I just got to give Marvel, a round of applause, basically, because running up to this movie, I was really excited. And I'm like, why am I this excited for a Thor movie? Like, I saw the first one. The first one I saw for free.
Yeah.
I got passes, and I saw it, and I was like, I like that much more than I thought I ever would. And then I saw the second one in the theater, and I enjoyed it. This one, I couldn't wait to see it. And
yeah, the marketing was great on this one.
Yeah,
you had, because we were getting what's he called from the comics, Ultimate Hulk or whatever, right? Where they fight each other in the what's that arc where Hulk is the gladiator in the comics? I forget what it's called.
Planet Hulk.
Yeah, Planet Hulk. So you're kind of getting a twist on that.
Yep.
Thor cuts his hair. So what I really liked about this movie was initially when I was watching it, I'm like, wow, they're really going hard with the humor in this for Thor. And in the very beginning scene where he's hanging from the chains with that fire demon guy and
Suitor, yeah.
It was a little bit over the top on the comedy there right off the bat. But then as the movie went on, I was just like, oh, this is just what they're doing now with the Thor franchise, and I liked it. I thought it just made it more enjoyable. It made it so I think my wife enjoyed it much better that way, taking a little bit of a page out of the Guardians book, I think there, just to try to get the Thor movies, back on the map.
I agree, and in my humble opinion, I like this way more than both the Guardians movies. I know.
Well, wait, I think it's a little early for you to be saying that here.
I can say whatever I want. What are you talking about? I think we've covered this before. I really enjoyed the first Guardians movie, okay? Most people did, and most people thought it was hilarious. I thought it was humorous, and I've said before, for my money, the summer the Guardians movie came out, my movie of the year was that Tom Cruise movie.
Oh, yeah, here we go again.
So I'm not going to go out and link.
Ding, we got your plug for every episode. You try to mention that Tom Cruise.
I'm just saying I enjoyed that movie, okay? Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah. Die another time or something, right?
So, yeah, I'm not going to go into that again. I'm just saying I have enjoyed the 2 Guardians movies, but I loved Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, it was fun. And there were some great, music scenes, the battle scenes. Yeah, it was really well done. I mean, I really enjoyed it as well. I'm still in the honeymoon phase with it, so I don't want to go out on a limb of anything like that. But yeah, it was great.
I'm in the same spot. Like, as of right now, I think it might be my favorite Marvel movie. But I think I need to consider that because for a while, I would say maybe Civil War is the better film. But I really, really enjoyed Thor.
Yeah, I mean, and plus we're getting more build now. We got the Infinity Wars coming up, so any movies that come out now have sort of more gravitas to them as we watch them and our expectations to them. So, what about the cutscenes at the end?
Loved them.
So we had there's a couple, but I mean the one I can remember right now is what I think we've been told is basically Thanos' ship that sort of cuts him off there.
Yes, there's this whole hey, we're going to go to Earth and we're going to reestablish Asgard there. Everything's going to be fine. And then all of a sudden this massive ship just shows up, and it's heavily, heavily implied that it's Thanos.
Yeah, yeah. And then what was the other scene? I'm trying to remember it right now.
The Game Master coming out. He was like,
yeah. Comic relief.
Kind of taking credit for the revolution. He's like, hey, without me, you can have a revolution. So, well done.
Yeah, Goldblum was good in that movie.
He was full on Goldblum.
Yeah.
Full on, and I loved it. You could tell he had fun with the role.
Yep. And then you're better at actors' names to me, but the woman that played, the actress that played the last standing Valkyrie stranded on the planet, she's coming on hard. She was in Westworld. She was in this movie. I think I've seen her. I've seen her promoted for a couple other things, so she's coming on pretty hard in these sort of nerd geek world shows.
Yes. Now, before we move on, like I said, we kind of started as a non-geek. How did your wife like it?
Well, we didn't talk about it, but I'm pretty sure she enjoyed it. I mean, she was laughing at stuff, and she was in a good mood coming out of it. She didn't make any comments about it being too long or anything like that.
Well, that's good. That's good. I was just curious, because obviously we're geeks, so we're going to go over the minutiae.
So did you watch it just you?
No. Shaylee and I went. She loved it as well.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think she loved it. I mean, there are a few things she enjoys as much as I do, because I really get into it. But she thoroughly enjoyed it as well. But I'm just effusive about it. I can't stop.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good, for sure. Next on the list, so at Halloween, we had Stranger Things Season 2.
Yep.
Electric Boogaloo.
Did you watch it all?
Yes.
We finished it probably within about, now I wouldn't say 24 hours, but no more than 36 hours. We tore through the entire season. Yeah,
we were quite busy the weekend it came out, so we had to stretch it out over probably a week. But it was good. My first take on it was, of course, it was enjoyable. It was a little bit of like Gremlins 2 to me, Guardian of the Galaxy 2 to me, just kind of like more of the same with the volume turned up a little bit, all the great characters and things that you love from the first one with a little bit more stuff sprinkled in. So it was good. It was enjoyable. I'm not over the moon about it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think I'm in the same place. I enjoyed it. There was so much hype over it because I don't think anyone expected. The first one was a complete surprise and pop sensation.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere practically.
Right. And I remember telling people, you need to watch the show. It's so good. And over the past, basically the last year, more and more people, word of mouth, watched the show. So there was so much hype and so much excitement over the show that it may have overhyped it a bit. I enjoyed it, but you know me, I can't be me without being negative. And to me, I saw it as there's a lot of character building, more so than the first season. And I think the point there is they're totally setting up for seasons 3 and 4 now.
Yeah, I mean, when I didn't know the future plans for it, and then when I was midway through watching this season, I heard about there's plans to go like 5 seasons, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if this thing has the legs for that, especially as the kids get older, right? Because the shining crown jewel of the first season was just how lovable and cute and interesting the kids were, right?
Right.
So as that wears off, they better really come with some hard story. They can't just keep going back to the well on upside down world demons,
Yeah, because let's face it, puberty is hitting the kids, so they're not going to be little kids, next season.
Yeah,
or maybe season 4. I mean, they're going to be teenagers.
Well, especially we get into season 3, season 4.
Right. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Not to get too specific, but the episode where I think it was episode 7. Where 11 goes off and meets her sister.
Oh, yeah. Lots of criticism about that episode.
I was just curious what your take was on it. I really enjoyed that episode.
I mean, it's kind of, I feel the same thing about Game of Thrones. I don't dislike that story arc in that episode. I just don't like it when that's all they give you for one episode. It's better on Netflix because you don't have to wait a full week to get back to the other parts of the story that you were waiting for.
Right.
But it still was kind of like, okay, half the way, 3/4 of the way through it, I'm like, okay, so this is happening. This is all we're getting. And, that kind of bummed me out. I would have liked it if they sprinkled in a little bit more of the story, then maybe I wouldn't be so critical of it. But it was valuable. I liked it. Was a solid episode.
I can see that. I mean, I am, again, a contrarian, because that's just what I do. I didn't realize there was a controversy until weeks later.
Yeah.
And I thought, that was actually one of my favorite episodes.
What I thought was really funny, and I don't know where I saw it, but somebody online was calling it the X-Men episode. Like that band of characters was like the original X-Men kind of thing.
I can see that.
From the 80s. So, yeah, it was cool. I mean, yeah, for some reason, I kind of want to be overly critical about Stranger Things 2 as well. I think it's just because of the hype.
Right. There's no way it could have lived up to the hype. So, I enjoyed it. Maybe I need to sit back and watch it a second time to kind of just appreciate it, because there wasn't, I wouldn't say there's really a lot of surprises this season. Not like...
No, exactly. That's why I kind of said, season 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's just kind of more of the same thing. And, what kind of bugs me is I forget his name, but the kid that was lost to the other side in the first season and then he gets possessed in this season.
Will?
Yeah. It's like he's just a vehicle for the story to revolve around, and his character is kind of, I don't know, not very interesting. He kind of reminds me of like the first couple seasons Carl of The Walking Dead. Like, he only existed to sort of mess things up and to create
Right.
to create havoc for everyone else to play off of. He wasn't a true actual character. So, that kind of bugs me. The other kids I love, though.
I can see he's a walking MacGuffin.
Yes.
He's just there to have a reason to have a story.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Okay, so we covered Stranger Things. Next, sticking with Netflix, we have, and going back to Marvel, we have The Defenders.
Which I have to admit, I still have not watched at all.
Well,
according to what Netflix doesn't put out official numbers, but according to some analytics on it, not a lot of people did watch.
Well, and I think coming out in the summer didn't help in the beginning of the summer. And then also I think there was... The Punisher, the Jessica Jones, the Daredevil, and then, obviously going into the Defenders with Iron Fist, it just didn't carry the momentum like sort of Marvel movies do. So I think it was harder for people to really kind of stay all along that ride. And then you had like 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, between when Iron Fist ended to the Defenders. So even me, when I enjoyed all those seasons, it was hard for me to get back into the mode for Defenders. But then when I finally started it, the first 2 episodes, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember liking all this stuff now, and I'm glad I started watching it again.
I need to watch it, and I feel bad because I just have not had the interest. I feel like I need to watch Iron Fist first, which maybe I don't, but I feel like I need to just bite the bullet and get through that. But I shouldn't have to force myself through a show.
Yeah, I mean, you're just out of the loop on it is all. Because the Iron Fist, I thought it was pretty good, even though it had some criticism. And I know you have somewhat of an affinity for the character of the Iron Fist, so I think you will enjoy it. You just have to be in the mood, If you have 5 or 6 other geek nerd things in your life that you're more excited about, it's hard to jump into that.
It is, because I have to admit, we'll get to this in a sec, but I've already started The Punisher.
Yeah.
And already I'm really enjoying that.
Hey, I saw the pilot episode, which I thought, just 1 episode. But I thought it was really good. I'm excited about it. How, we've said before the Netflix Marvel shows all seem to start really strong.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens there. But I felt like that episode seemed to be the first one more well written than any episode of all of the other series.
I think I'm 2 or 3 episodes in, and I think the thing I like most about the show is that it's very, very easy to make Frank Castle, the Punisher, a one-note character.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a guy that kills bad guys, right? And it's very easy to do that and just kind of, I don't know, maybe have some kind of justice fantasy going on where he just shoots everyone that has wronged anyone ever. So I like that he's not the caricature that he can so easily become. They're really working on character on this and giving him a story and giving him, the first episode, well, I shouldn't say there's spoilers, so I wouldn't say, but I was surprised. I was just surprised because I don't know how to say this without spoilers, but yeah, I'll just say that. I was surprised that when the first episode was done, I was like, okay, how is this a Punisher series then?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously in the next episode or 2, you see how it's still a Punisher series. So that's about as, I know I'm being vague, but I'm just trying to...
Well, I'll say one thing about the Punisher that I really enjoy, and it's sort of a reaction to a lot of what I saw in the Defenders. I'm even starting to see it in The Walking Dead now. I'm trying to think, there might have been another series I'm seeing it in, and I think it may be sort of a cultural, societal thing going on right now, but like those series had lots of elements where it's like, oh, we can't kill them, we have to do the right thing and take them to the authorities and this kind of thing. Which that was the thing I hated the most about the Defenders. It seemed so forced
Really?
When they would do those kind of things. I just didn't get where it was coming from. But I'm glad to see the Punisher. I've only one episode in. There's not any of that going on. I don't know if you can say in a couple more episodes in if that shows its ugly head or not.
I think it's safe to say he's very much Frank Castle.
Yeah, because I was worried in the Defenders of so much of that. Like, well, let's not kill the bad guys. We have to take them to the authorities. And
like I said, I've obviously not seen this series yet, but knowing from the comics, I have to believe that a large part of that was Matt Murdock pushing that, because that's how he's been in the comics.
Well,
forever.
You know, I mean, I don't want to get into too much, but it wasn't just him. And there was...
Well, I would assume not, but...
You know, but anyways, that was my only beef for the Defenders, really. Other than that, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And then, so yeah, I'm enjoying that part of the Punisher as well.
And then I guess we're going to shift over to DC and the
B-side of the album.
Which I haven't seen it, so I really can't diss it.
No, I haven't seen it either, and I think we talked about it before. That I probably told I have no interest in seeing it. I mentioned to you previously that the special effects in the trailers just look so sort of C-grade.
That's one of the criticisms I've seen online. That, the special effects. I mean, you spend $350 million on a movie. Now, obviously, a lot of that, half of that's by advertising, but still, let's say you're throwing $200 million at a movie. Why have shitty CGI?
Yeah, I think they're just trying too hard. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the studio they worked with. Who knows? But I'm not even disappointed anymore. I'm just sort of like, I'm open to hear your comments about it because you have more of a tie to DC than I do.
Well, I'm in the same boat in that I'm not even disappointed anymore. When Thor outperforms your movie, which is supposed to be the pinnacle, it's supposed to be the DC Avengers that we're going to make $1 billion. When Thor, in its opening weekend, outperforms it by $25 million at least.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but they really rushed it with Batman versus Superman. That deserved a 4 or 5 movie lead-in. They rushed it with, within that movie, the Doomsday character. That could have been a whole 4 or 5 movie Superman arc. And then this was also completely rushed as well. Everything's just rushed. Nothing gets time to breathe. And I think some of the characters don't have, I don't think, enough of a following and enough mass appeal to them to warrant 5 or 6 of their own movies like they do in Marvel. But, I don't know. They're doing the best they can, I guess.
I mean, Marvel did not know what they were doing day one, that they were going to have the success. Let's just go with that. And I think there was also origin movie fatigue. People are sick of the origin movies. That said, I mean, Justice League, not only do you have... So you haven't had a standalone Batman movie. He showed up with Superman the last movie. You have had a standalone Wonder Woman movie, which did fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of can't do standalone Batman movies, sort of, right? Because there's already been 8 Batman movies.
Well, yeah, but Nolan, those don't...
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying there's a reason why they're not going there.
Right. I get that. Everyone knows Batman. You don't have to do a Batman origin film at this point. It's like Spider-Man at Marvel. You don't need to do origin films for Spider-Man. Everyone knows Spider-Man's origin by this point in time. But then they also had Aquaman, who, lame. Sorry, Joe Becker out there.
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with Aquaman, but yeah, you introduce him in the...
It's not so much the character, but yeah, you introduce him. And you introduce Flash. And you introduce Cyborg. So parts of the movie are origin when you're really trying to get your big story going. And then you did it... I'll give them this. They did it in 2 hours. So a lot of these movies are getting longer and longer. We just hear, we'll get to it in a little bit, but the next Star Wars movie is 2.5 hours.
Yeah, the longest Star Wars movie on record.
Yeah.
Including credits, though, which is probably 12 minutes worth of credits.
Right, but I'm just saying, so they actually got this one at 2 hours. Good for them. But maybe this one could have breathed a bit more. I mean, I don't want to say DC's damned if they do, damned if they don't. But it all comes back to they rushed it. Did we need an origin Flash movie? No, but at least a Flash.
Well, they had this TV series, though, right? But again, it's all part of the poor strategy of DC.
Right, because the TV series, they already have the origin, right? Yeah. But this is a different Flash. But luckily, they have the DC TV universe, which basically is established. There are multiple universes. So you can explain away the DC.
But I mean, all of this is just too much, right?
Right.
By the time you try to sort through all of it, it's just okay, never mind.
So it's hard for us. I mean, we're beating a dead horse because we haven't seen the film. But let me throw this out there. I will see the film. I have to. And I have a confession to make on air live right now. I have a confession. I just purchased
Batman versus Superman?
Batman versus Superman.
You purchased it?
I purchased it.
Didn't even try to Redbox it or anything?
It was $4.99. No, $3.99.
Blu-ray?
Blu-ray.
Oh, that
Blu-ray,
tells you all you need to know right
DVD
there.
and digital copy. $3.99. I couldn't say no. I'm like, you know what? It might be a huge turd. I'm expecting it to be, so maybe I'll actually enjoy it.
Well, that's what I said. You have to watch it just to be able to weigh in on it and have a little bit more fuel to throw on this fire. You know, when we have the conversation.
Harken back,
time.
you have basically challenged me. We did a "Have you seen it?"
Yeah,
and you said that yes, I need to see it. So I figured for $4, I will find out because I'll be able to watch not only the director's. Well, actually, I'm going to watch the extended. I hear the extended version is better.
Yeah, but the thing there too, though, is I almost say like you have to watch the regular version first because that's what everybody saw. So that's what affected the trajectory and all of that. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
You know, but you're not going to watch it twice. I know that. So I guess
that's my hard thing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to see it twice.
You might as well pick the better one, I guess.
But so I did buy it. It should be here Monday. So sometime in this holiday season, I will watch it and I will report back.
Okay, and we'll come back and beat up on DC some more. So, all right, that's enough time spent on them. So you had some Hulu stuff you want to talk about here, which, go ahead and jump into it.
I just, the couple new shows on Hulu that have caught my eye. Futureman, have you heard of this one?
No.
It's basically, and they make reference to this in the actual trailer for it as well. It's Josh Hutcherson, I think his name is, the guy that was in the Hunger Games film.
Right.
As PETA. He's basically this guy, he's early, mid-20s. He's doing nothing with his life. He's a janitor at some biotech firm. And but what he does really well and what he loves to do is play video games. And he finally beats this video game he's been trying to beat for the longest time. And when he does, these travelers from the future show up saying, "This was a test. You are our savior." And
so it's real highbrow sci-fi.
Right. Right. And there is a fair amount of adult humor. I'll say that. Or maybe 12-year-old humor, however you want to look at it. There's some bodily fluid humor in there. But they come up like, "You're our savior. This is the video game. You've mastered it. You're going to come save our world now." And he's like, you guys are putting me on. This is literally the plot of The Last Starfighter from the 80s. And of course, they have no idea what it is, blah, blah, blah. I've watched the first episode. It was funny. Shay was not impressed. So I think I'll check out some more. But it's very 80s heavy as well.
Yeah. Is it set in the 80s?
No, it's set now.
It has that nostalgia.
Time travel is now part of it. So he has to jump back to the 80s for a portion. They start off jumping back to the late 60s. The whole gist is that basically they have to stop this guy from curing herpes because for some reason his cure ends up destroying the world in the future. And
so this is very much like there's a little bit of everything going on from all kinds of other series wrapped into this one.
Yes.
You got a little Terminator in there. You got a little Futurama in there.
Yes. So it's definitely...
You got a little Ender's Game in there. Jesus.
It's definitely sci-fi with tongue-in-cheek. I'm willing to give it a couple more episodes. Like I said, the first episode was all right. It didn't blow me away.
No, it sounds kind of interesting. But with so many choices now, you got to pick your poisons.
So I'll check that out. But the one that really caught my eye was another Hulu show that has come out called Runaways.
Now, is this the X-Men one?
No, that's actually on Fox, and that's Gifted, which
I
have not watched.
I thought there was a Hulu one coming out that's tied to the Fox X-Men universe.
Well, here's the thing. So Runaways is a Marvel show.
Okay.
It is the Marvel universe. This one is different. It's hard not to do it without spoilers. Well, no, it's on the first episode. So it's based on a comic book series where basically these teenagers, find out that their parents might be supervillains.
Mm.
So the comic is all about the kids running away, thus the term Runaways. And then each of the kids find out, for the most part, each of them either have a power or something that makes them special that they not previously realize.
Yeah.
But now that they've exposed that their parents have powers and are supervillains, they have different abilities as well. The thing I've already noticed that's different about this show, the comic was 100% focused on the kids. This one, that's still the focus, but you're hearing a lot more about the parents, and it's slowing things down. There's, basically the whole first episode is about the kids, and then the second episode is largely the same events that happened in the first episode, but from the perspective of the parents. So it's still interesting. It's a good. I'm on the third episode now. I like it. I'm not loving it like I love the comics, but the comic is one of my favorite comics of all time. So, again, I hold it up to
when is the
standard.
comic from? Was that like a original 90s kind of thing?
I would say it was about 10 years ago.
Okay, so it's a newer sort of comic franchise.
Yeah. It's very good, and I'm willing to give the show... I'll say this, I think it's a better done show than Futureman right now.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'll say... I mean, it's kind of segueing to a slightly different topic, but I just wanted to touch on, while we're catching up on stuff here, the sort of news of the ongoing deliberations of Marvel being able to buy back their franchises from Fox Studios, right? Or Disney buying them, or whatever.
Which is apparently currently dead.
Well, I heard it was dead, and then I heard, there's still talks, and, whatever. But it's just interesting, because obviously they already crossed the bridge a little bit with Spider-Man. I'd really love to see them do something with that.
So would I. I mean, Spider-Man's an interesting case in that basically Sony has leased it back to Marvel. But just Spider-Man, because right now they are currently filming a Venom film with Tom Brady.
What's Tom Brady? Tom Hardy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom Hardy.
yeah. Well, it's just, I'm really, like that. I want to get excited about that Venom movie, but until the franchises are in the hand of Marvel, I kind of want to just keep them at a distance, because know that the Fox Studios isn't going to do anything great with them. They might do average or slightly above average, but then eventually, if it all comes to Marvel later, all those are going to mean nothing anyways. So I'm kind of, I don't know what to think about that.
Well, to throw this out there, so have you seen the trailer for New Mutants?
No.
That's X-Men related. It's Fox.
Right.
But they're going a totally different way. Whereas basically, in the comics, New Mutants was the current, when it came out in the 80s, the current crop of students at the Xavier Institute for gifted students. They were basically going to be the next generation X-Men. And then eventually, they had adventures. They were basically X-Men. It was an X-Men sub-team just called New Mutants.
Yeah.
This movie coming out is borrowing heavily from the horror genre. So I don't know if it's going to work. I have to admit I'm curious, but not enough to go, yeah, here's my money.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the hard part is, the Marvel side of things, Marvel Disney, they're just following the comics quite a bit, because that's where the gold is. Like, that is where the gold is. And, heads up DC, heads up Fox, X-Men, there still is plenty of gold in the hills there. I think too many of them are worrying that, we can't do that anymore. We have to go look somewhere else for gold. We have to create our own new gold. And it's like, no, just go back to the comics and just do it the way that Marvel is doing. And then look at how many movies has Marvel gotten out of where they're basically just leading up to Infinity War. You know what I mean? Like, we're at 20 movies now, and all the money that's been made, So after Infinity War, then they're going to have to maybe veer off a little bit from the original source material. But at that point, they got it figured out. They know what works, and we're all bought in already.
Right. And Marvel is teasing that after the fourth Avengers film, the Marvel Universe as we know it is done.
Right.
Now, that could mean many different things, which made me think of something, which I want to jump back now. Briefly, I know we've spent a lot of time on it already, but so if Marvel reboots, does a soft reboot, which is entirely possible, because let's face it, Robert Downey Jr. is now 10 years into
this. I mean, the actors are going to get too old. We don't want to see old superstars.
All of them are at the end of their contracts, except for the second tier characters.
Yeah.
We're talking about Sebastian Stan. We're talking about a guy that plays Falcon. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about. All the sub-characters all have many more picture deals yet. But Chris Evans, he's done. Robert Downey Jr., he keeps signing extensions. Like, all right, I'll do this more movie if you give me another boatload of money. And he does it. Hemsworth, I think, is done after Infinity War.
Yeah. Well, at least with Thor, we have comic precedent for them passing the hammer on, so to speak.
Exactly. Now, Anthony Mackie. Sorry, that's your
Falcon.
Sorry. Justice League might have to do it first. Or not Justice League, DC. There already is talk. The Flash movie is going to be Flashpoint. Do you know what Flashpoint is?
No.
Basically, the Flash goes back in time to change one little thing. It has a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
And it completely reboots the universe. There's already talk that DC's talking about doing that because Justice League did not do what they wanted, but they want to keep some of the characters around.
I mean, if they hit the reset button completely, I would be open to getting back on the train.
But you can't completely, because Wonder Woman's a success. And they've already contracted for Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah, so. But isn't where she's from, like a distant planet or something anyways, right?
So no, she's from Themyscira. That's right. It's on Earth.
Just in the past?
Yeah. Well, no, it's hidden. It's hidden. Have you
saw Wonder Woman, didn't you? No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like they could make her story interesting enough to say that whatever Flash doesn't really affect her or something, right? You know?
Well, part of the problem, too, is...
I mean, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here.
Right.
And she's the only thing that's worth a damn in their thing right now.
Exactly, which is sad, because I can't believe they can't build a universe around Batman. But part of their mistake, too, we could go on and on about this, but part of the mistake with Batman versus Superman was they made Batman old. Just because they did it in Batman The Dark Knight Returns, which is a great comic, doesn't mean he had to be old then.
Wait, are you getting into detail of criticizing a movie that you haven't seen yet? Is that what's going on here?
I'm not criticizing the movie. I'm criticizing the fact that DC threw in an old Batman in the previous film, and he's old in this film. How are you supposed to make Justice League when you have an old Batman? He should be young.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, look, I've said it before. The Justice League, well, no, I don't want to go there because that might not even be that great of an idea. It's DC. I don't really, I'm not an expert in that field. So, anyways.
Moving on to Star Wars.
So yeah, let's take a quick break. The next segment, we got to catch up on a lot of Star Wars stuff. Obviously, the film's coming out in the very near future. So we'll be back in a minute.
I have my tickets already. All right, welcome back to part 2 of the 17th episode of WNRD. This part of the episode is going to be focused more on Star Wars.
Yeah, we have a lot of catching up to do here. Let's start with some of the, I'll call it the smaller items before we get to the big ticket items, which is obviously episode 8. So the Battlefront II game just came out. I could wax poetic about Star Wars forever, but as I've said before, the thing I love about the universe right now is that everything has equity. You're buying into equity for all the movies when you buy anything else. So this game is part of the story. It's canon. There's a whole bunch of minutes of cutscenes that are basically almost a mini movie that plays out within the game.
Yeah, it's mostly post episode 6, right?
Right. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it focuses on the characters that's touched on. We'll get on next, the book Inferno Squad. So I bought the game. I haven't played it yet. I'm probably going to get into it today. I don't have much time for video games these days anymore, but I try to make time for the Star Wars ones. What about you? You're more of a gamer.
I thought about buying it. I did. I do have the last one. I liked it, but I wanted a campaign. So this one has a campaign.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing. The last one, they came out and admitted they rushed it to try to get it out before the movie. But this one, they said they've taken the full time. It's got a full campaign story that is canon.
Yeah, so that does interest me, but I don't know. I held off only because I don't have a lot of time to game either.
Right.
So my focus is every year on Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
So I will look at other games usually around Christmas time or just after when they go on sale. So for me, Battlefront 2 is not something to buy day one.
Well, just a heads up, and I didn't touch it because I didn't want it as a spoiler, but for you might be more interested. I believe on YouTube, somebody has taken all the cutscenes and edited them into basically a movie you can watch. So you can get the whole story of the campaign just by watching it.
Well, that's neat. I definitely will check that out. But I probably will buy it at some point, but I the Dutchman in me, as I often say.
Well, I bought it with a gift card.
Well, there you go. The last one, eventually I think I bought it a year or two after it came out. When it was you can buy the game and all the DLC that came with it for $20 out the door.
Yep.
So I will probably do that with this game. And I have to admit, though, hearing all this buzz, I don't know if you follow any of the gaming sites or not, but EA got a lot of
for all loot packs or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
all these microtransactions. But yeah, the loot packs, where you could basically spend all kinds of money to unlock characters.
Yeah, so if you have a bunch of money, you can have a status in the game that regular Joes that don't have a bunch of disposable income will never be able to touch you.
Well, it's just, it's basically you can be badass for money. And I'm not into that.
Yeah, but the good news is, there's a happy ending to the story, I think, in the long run, which is they got a ton of backlash, and then almost immediately they came out and tried to adjust it, which I give them credit for, because the studio that made that game, they've been very interactive with the community. Just like I said, the Battlefront 1, they didn't pull any punches to come out and say, yes, we rushed this game. We know that it doesn't really have the content of a full-price game that you would expect. So it's not like they did it and then just went in a corner and put their head in the sand and left it that way. So I got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, and then, so I don't know. I will get it eventually, I'm sure, but it's not a day one release for me.
Yeah, yep. So segueing a little bit, so there's 2 books that came out over the course of the summer that sort of are leading up to the episode 8 movie. The first one was Inferno Squad. And let me quote the author here, by Christine Golden, who I believe also wrote a couple of the other books in the canon series. But I bought this book, I read it. Initially, when I heard it coming out, I was like, oh, geez, another Star Wars book about a bunch of characters we've never heard of. So I kind of knew it was good, but I've committed to reading all of them. But I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, one of the things that it does well is that right from the beginning, they completely addressed my concern, which is they took the main character of this book and immediately placed her in the Star Wars universe with an event we're familiar with. So I loved them. I loved the book for that, for them to be aware of that, that was even a problem. So the main character, I forget her name. She's got kind of a funny Star Wars name, but she's a TIE fighter pilot, one of the best in the Empire. She survived the Death Star attack, the second one. She was in the fighter squadron that was out chasing down the rebels, and when the Death Star blew up, she was one of the miraculous survivors, that because she was in her TIE and it flew out, and then she crash landed on the Yavin base, had to try to find her way off and escape, which she did. And then the story takes place.
Endor?
The Endor. Yeah, Endor. Okay. Yes. So it immediately places her in something that makes her familiar to the storyline, which was big for me. And then she goes on to be part of this Inferno Squad, which is like a special squad of people chosen from the Empire to go do certain things. So this takes place almost immediately after Return of the Jedi. So it does a good job, like other books do, to kind of reinforce the fact that, hey, just because they blew the Death Star up, that wasn't the entire Empire dying at that moment.
Right, so, the Empire just to say, oh, okay, we're done. I'm sure they fought on.
Right, they still had tons of resources, tons of Star Destroyers and all this kind of stuff out there. So for those reasons, it was a really good book. I know you have so much time dedicated to comics. I don't think you're ready to get into the Star Wars canon novels, but it was a good one, and I think it did good to lead into the video game, and I'm curious to see if some remnants of this story show up in the next episode.
Interesting. It sounds very interesting. Like I said, if I had more time, I'd probably read it, but you're right, I read a lot of comic books. Yeah.
So I'm not going to get on you too much there. Your reading time is limited. Next to that, and I think this is one that you may have been more interested in, was the Captain Phasma book.
Very interested, yes.
Which, okay, let me get the author here. It's just called Phasma, actually. Written by Delilah S. Dawson. So it's basically Phasma's origin story. I'm not going to pull any punches there. That's what it is. Really interesting. I'm trying to think. Almost has I don't want to say anything to turn anybody off or spoil anything, but it almost has sort of a weird The Usual Suspects kind of vibe about it, and that some of it is told in like a third person, and then it jumps into first person, and it has some mystery in it, so about who is who and that kind of thing. So it's a really interesting book. It kind of has a nice pace to it. Tells you everything you need to know about Phasma, which I know in a way we were both disappointed with episode 7 that she just pops up on screen like a Boba Fett appearance, right?
She looks totally sweet, but then nothing happens.
Yep. And then, so this rounds out her story. Definitely but the thing is, this takes place all before episode 7, so it's like, we didn't see her in episode 7, so are we going to get payoff in episode 8? Hopefully we do, because basically you find out how much of a badass she is. She's not just a weird character in cool armor. She really is a complete and total badass. The book does a great job of driving that point home.
Good. I would like to know more about this character. She looks sweet.
And it's a great backstory too. It's really interesting. So you know, I would definitely
I'm assuming
recommend.
Does it start before? You said it's an origin, so it's before she's Captain Phasma. She probably starts.
Phasma is actually her native name. It's just Phasma, one name.
Oh, interesting.
And then she becomes Captain Phasma. So
obviously she starts off a lowly trooper or something.
No, she does not.
What?
So she basically comes into the Empire. Let's put it this way: she's sort of a diamond in the rough. That they just sort of happen to stumble upon her because of almost sort of an accident that the Empire makes, and one of their generals ends up where Phasma happens to be.
Okay.
And then through, obviously, a big, long story with lots of twists and turns and excitement, it gets to the point where she basically jumps into the Empire at a very, very high level. So, obviously, I'm leaving a lot out, but trying to give enough there to make it sound really... That's why I said her backstory is really interesting and really cool.
Okay, you've piqued my interest.
So, that book was great, and then I was trying to find it for the show, for this episode, but there is another book that's supposed to be coming out in the next couple days here that's supposed to be the final lead-in to the Episode 8 movie, but I couldn't find the name of it or whatever. But I believe it was like another new character that I'm guessing probably shows up in the movie, but... I do have high hopes for that book because they came out with a book called Catalyst just like a month before Rogue One came out. And that book was a amazing lead-in to the movie Rogue One. So I'm hoping this last book does the same thing. But, you know, like I've said, I've read pretty much all of the canon Star Wars novels with the exception of the one called Dark Disciple because that takes place during the Clone Wars time period. And I just wasn't a huge fan of that. But every other canon adult novel that's come out I have read. So that kind of leads us to the Episode 8 discussion a little bit. So there's been a lot of TV spots, a couple trailers now have come out, you know, lots to react to there. Just tying back to Phasma really quickly, I'll just kick it off with saying that they show a Finn versus Phasma fight of some sort.
Yes.
From what I've read from this Phasma book, Finn as a sort of custodial stormtrooper stands no chance against Phasma. So that better be a really quick fight or just some quick interaction, or Phasma would just destroy him in about 3 minutes. So that's got me really interested.
Really? Okay. I'm excited. Yeah, and they do tease that fight. It looks interesting. It looks like it takes place in the middle of basically a destructing Star Destroyer of some sort. Mm-hmm. I'm into it. I'm into those battles. So I'm very excited for Episode 8. I think I whispered at the end of the last segment. I got my tickets already.
Yeah, and I keep forgetting I need to buy mine. So I'm trying to figure out. I got to figure out if I'm gonna. I don't want to dwell on this too much. If there's going to be a late night Thursday show, I may have work plans that evening on the Friday. Do I want to go early on a Saturday? I don't know, but I need to get my tickets.
See, when they released that second trailer and they said, "Okay, tickets are available now," I turned to Shaylee. I was like, "We need to get tickets," and she's like, "It's a school night. I don't know if we can." I was like, "Oh my, you're killing me."
Oh wait, so when does it release? It's not on a Friday?
Thursday.
Okay, then I'll go Thursday night then for sure.
Well, if you can.
Well, I thought the same thing last year. I bought my tickets late and I went on there and there were still a handful of seats left. So,
yeah, I went to go by 7 p.m. So I wanted to buy tickets. She's like, it's like school night. I don't know. We got the kids. Blah blah blah. I was like, all right, fine. We'll see it this weekend. I don't want to miss the spoiler. I don't want to not miss the spoilers, but I don't want it to be spoiled for me.
Yeah, because you love to go online and read the spoiler content, so you got to see it early.
I got to see it early, so that way I don't ruin the movie.
You can't resist it.
So the next morning, she's like, you know what? Maybe we should get tickets. I was like, what? We missed out on the good seats at the good theater with the big, huge, comfy chairs. We missed the 7 p.m. show. So I did find 7:30 seats.
Yeah.
But at a different theater that has just...
Yeah, that's what I found, too, last year when I bought tickets late, was that the very first show was sold out, but there was plenty of good seats in the
well, I got good seats shows. For the next show, but it's at the other local theater that has normal seats.
Well, come on. I mean,
there's another local
this isn't
theater
about
here.
The seats.
It has big comfy chairs that totally recline. They're awesome, but I prefer to see it there, but I couldn't. I'm just seeing it that night, though, at 7:30. So it's still early enough.
All right, so let's get back to the actual movie.
Showing, yes.
What are you excited about from the actual movie that you've seen?
I'm excited by what I don't know, because they obviously have teased that possibly Rey is being tempted.
Right. But I think there might be some misdirection going on here, because they tease a couple things that's overly obvious, like, oh, Rey's going to go to the dark side, and Kylo shoots down, kills Leia, in a direct attack. Like, those things are so obvious in the trailer that I'm like, that might be misdirection.
It has to be. It has to be, because you got to remember, modern movies, a good 25% of what you see in the trailer isn't even in the movie now.
Yeah, Star Wars was famous for that.
Like, oh,
they had a whole character, they made a toy and everything from Episode 7 that never even got cut out of the movie.
Yeah, it's not even there. Was it like a policeman or something, right?
Yes, I don't remember his name, but yeah, because people are like, what happened to this guy?
Yeah, action figure. It's not even in the movie.
So yeah, we may be very much surprised.
And plus, I mean, they're messing with us on purpose.
Yeah.
Because anytime a poster comes out now, like, look at Rey's at the top and she's wearing red. They only do that for Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Only people on the dark side are at the top of the poster, so therefore Rey is evil now.
Well, and then wasn't there there was one of the later TV spots where Rey specifically says to, I think we're led to believe it's Luke, I don't know if it shows, but she's like, he failed you, I won't fail you, kind of thing. Like, she's saying, like, okay, I'm going to go maybe visit Kylo, talk to him, I need to see this through, but I'm committed to the light side, right? Is basically what I was getting out of that.
He could be turned any way. We don't know. That's the thing. Or, like, there's even been ones where they show Luke now is at the top of the poster. So is Luke really gone dark?
Yeah. Well, so some of my highlights, though, are there was a little article and some stuff online about when Luke or Mark Hamill actually first stepped into the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon on set. Did you see that?
Yep.
So he said he got really emotional. His kids and family were with him, and he told them that he needed some time to himself because he said since the filming closed on Jedi, he'd never been in that setting, and then they said they recreated it perfectly. Right,
because Force Awakens, he's in one scene, so they flew him out to Ireland, some island somewhere. Okay, here we go, Mark, and you're done. You're done with the movie.
Yep. Yeah, but we talked about it before how Mark Hamill had said earlier in the spring how he fundamentally disagreed with how Johnson was, basically how he had written his character for this movie. And after seeing the trailers, I think I get it now, because Luke is very much, it seems like he's very much shying away from being involved. And that's really not the Luke we know. The Luke we know is the Luke that's like, let's go headstrong first into an adventure.
Right. But then again, if he blames himself for Kylo Ren.
Right, because that's a whole part of the story that we don't know.
Right. And it looks like they basically slaughtered any other Jedi that were being trained.
Yeah.
So where are the rest of the Knights of Ren? Where are the rest? We see them in a flashback in The Force Awakens.
Well, that's going to be one of the new movies in a couple of years. I mean, they haven't announced it, but it's got to be.
Well,
right?
So let me say this. There's basically, at this point, it's all conjecture. No one really knows what the hell's going on in Episode 8. People are debating, without seeing it, is Rey going dark? Is Kylo coming to the good side? Is Luke going dark? We don't know any of this. What we do know is that this is the longest Star Wars movie to date.
Yep. Which is a good thing for me.
Right. No qualms there. It was directed by Rian Johnson. And Disney is so happy with him. They've given him a new trilogy. Did you see that news?
Yes. Yeah. So let's put that on the shelf for now, though, because I don't want to jump to that too soon.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is, like I said, we'll get to it in a minute.
It acknowledges that they were happy with what he's been doing. Right?
That's what I would say. You would not hand the keys to the car to some guy.
Right.
Because there's a lot of talk. Gareth Edwards, who did Rogue One.
Yeah.
That a significant chunk of that movie that was awesome was actually directed by Tony Gilroy, who was brought in late to punch it up and give it some more action. And Gilroy is known for, I believe he wrote the last few Jason Bourne movies.
Yeah.
I know he directed the one with Jeremy Renner that was not as good. But,
yeah.
But he's known as being an action director and punching things up and getting things going that way. So we haven't heard anything about Rian Johnson negatively, other than what you said about Mark Hamill disagreeing fundamentally.
Right.
Other than that, I have high hopes for this.
Yeah, me too. And I think we have a lot of the nostalgia moments and all the resetting the chips and everything from Episode 7 was taken care of. That's out of the way. Now it's like, okay, let's move forward, I think is the thought process here with this movie. Porgs. I'm super excited about the Porgs.
I'm one of the few people that's neutral on Porgs. I don't.
Well, you have a little dark Grinch heart. So of course.
Well, you'd think because the online community, there's either people that love the Porgs, are excited, kind of like where you are, and there's some people like, oh, these are the new Ewoks. This is this is the Muppetization of Star Wars that was seen in Return of the Jedi, which I can see that, but
yeah, I mean,
when I saw Jedi, I was
I fundamentally have a problem with that line of criticism on Star Wars movies. Like, I won't stand up for Jar Jar. Like, I'm not going to sit here and complain about Jar Jar. It's not worth the time. But I won't stand up for it. But Ewoks loved it. Porgs love it. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to have those things those are what helps the younger generation fall in love with Star Wars.
I get that.
And we can't have every race be humanoids or deadly looking aliens. There's got to be some little cute.
Why can't there be
creatures?
There's definitely lots of ugly aliens. So why can't there be?
I mean, look at our stupid little planet. Look how many cute animals are in this planet, right?
Look how many ugly animals on this planet. I get it. So I don't hate them. I think I'm reserving judgment, but I can see, like I fully admit, when Jedi came out, I was 9 years old. Okay, so the Ewoks thing didn't bother me then. I see the argument now that I'm an adult, but honestly, I loved Jedi as a kid, so I'm okay with the Ewoks.
Yeah, I don't even, I don't know what possible problem you could have with Ewoks. I mean, other than like, oh, well, it was just a marketing thing or a spin-off for another movie. Like, okay, what's wrong with that? That's basically how capitalism works.
I can see why people have issues. They're overly cute, blah, blah, blah.
Well, like I said, but why can't they be overly cute species in the universe?
There can be. I'm just saying, but it's obviously a totally blatant marketing ploy, and it worked.
Yeah, but so is like putting an attractive woman in a movie. Like, come on now.
No, I'm not. Like I said, I'm middle ground. I suspect I could see the Porgs, I should say, be the Star Wars baby Groot.
Right.
They're just adored. I could see that happening. So I'm not against them. I have not fallen in love with them.
They have the ice wolves on the other side to balance them out. We saw that in the trailer. There's like an ice wolf.
Sweet. Those look pretty sweet. I still see the Porgs being much more merchandisable.
Well, yeah, for sure. And Daisy Ridley came out and said that personally, she loves the Porgs, but that in the movie, Rey has no time for the cuteness of the Porgs. Mm-hmm. So that was a nice comment, I thought.
So I'm Switzerland. I don't know. I'm neutral when it comes to Porgs.
Yeah. Oh, I'm full on Porg. So yeah, I mean, we touched on most of the topics there. We could talk forever about it, but we could sort of segue now to, like you said, it has been announced that Rian Johnson has been given a trilogy that you had made a note in our notes here that it's not part of the saga, but then I made a subnote that they said it's not part of the saga as we know it, kind of thing.
Right.
Anything that we're familiar with. It's
supposed to be characters we're not used to seeing. So we could start the conjecture and assumptions now. At this point, it could literally be anything.
Right. I mean, there's been a lot of talk online about, well, does it go back to the Old Republic? Does it take place in any of the current timelines, but just in a completely different corner of the universe? Because the books have done a good job at that, too, of letting you know that, look, this is just, 5% of the known universe that we're familiar with. There's so much other stuff going on where people don't even know who Luke Skywalker is, don't even know who Darth Vader is. So they could keep it in the same timeline, but just move it elsewhere and have really vague tie-ins and then play a long game with it.
Right, and I'm totally fine with that. I mean, it's like you said, there's so much. It's a galaxy, okay? So we've barely scratched the surface. There has to be a lot more going on here. And I'm okay with moving away from the whole Skywalker family. We've had 2 entire trilogies already based on them.
Mm-hmm.
They show up at least in 2 episodes of this saga. We don't know what's going to happen.
And look at Rogue One. I mean, Rogue One basically... I mean, Darth Vader was in there, but that movie could have completely existed without anybody sort of knowing anything about anybody named Skywalker. I mean, and it was fantastic.
Technically, Leah's in it, and she's technically a Skywalker, too.
So yeah, but we don't know it at the time.
Right, exactly. My point is, it would be nice to see no Skywalker presence whatsoever, but can they do that? Can they... But we don't know. We don't know what time period this is, so how do you not have a big bad like Darth Vader? They're probably going to have something like that. But,
yeah, because there's always a Sith.
Right. So no one knows what they're going to do with the next trilogy, but like I said, it's definitely a huge vote of confidence for Disney to say, all right, Episode 8, love it. Here you go. Make us more money.
Is he also doing 9? Who's doing 9?
J.J. Abrams came back for 9.
Okay. And then we have Ron Howard took over helming the Han Solo movie, which is coming out in May.
Yeah, I haven't checked lately to see if they've changed the date on that. I feel like that's too soon.
Yeah, but I thought we found out that that's what they decided because they were going to up the cadence on these movies because why wait?
Right.
Because there has been no announcements. Like there's been an announcement on this new trilogy that Rian Johnson's going to do. We know obviously episode 8 and 9, and we know the Han Solo movie, but the other quote unquote Star Wars story movies, we don't know what the other ones are yet, though, right?
Correct. No idea. And I just confirmed, Solo is still scheduled for May 25th, 2018. So they haven't moved it. But we know the next saga movie is not going to come out until 2019.
Yeah, so they're keeping a full year between those, or slightly over.
Yeah. So, and then obviously, I'm assuming the Rian Johnson movie is going to start taking place sometime after this current saga trilogy.
Right.
But we still have one more standalone film. We don't know what that is yet. There's rumors, could it be a Boba Fett movie?
There might be 2 more standalone films before we finish this.
We know there's at least one more. We know...
At least one more, yeah.
The buzz is Boba Fett or Obi-Wan.
Right. And I've gone on record that I don't want an Obi-Wan one. We've seen so much of Obi-Wan. I mean, basically, he's in everything almost. He was in heavily in the Clone Wars animated series. He's in both trilogies, basically. Showed up in Star Wars Rebels. Like, we don't need any more of Obi-Wan. So I hope that's also a misdirection rumor out there.
I'm okay with more Obi-Wan.
I mean...
Because enough time has gone by now that Ewan McGregor can come back and play an older Obi-Wan. He's not old.
Play not so old Ben.
Right. I mean, they got makeup.
You're right about that. You are right about that. I mean, you want to take advantage of your assets while you can. I would only be okay with an Obi-Wan story if they, heavily pulled in other people we want to see. Like, if Boba Fett was, the main antagonist in it, or they pulled in, Bosk and Dengar, or they just pulled in other characters that we would love to see more of.
I can see that.
But if they do Obi-Wan with new characters we don't know, I'm like, I don't know.
Right, that doesn't make sense, only because, obviously, if he's older but not old, at some point he has to get to Star Wars.
Yeah. Because interestingly enough, he... looking at the books, because some of these books would make amazing movies, these novels, and I try to think who are the do they have the actors that could play them? Do we have to recast it or whatever? But Obi-Wan isn't in hardly any of these books at all either, which says I wonder if they did that purposely because they want to have a movie in the future,
Right. Again, we're all just guessing.
But the Boba Fett movie needs to happen.
I would totally be on board with that too.
Because we all know what happened with the... so sorry, I want to go back. One thing that we do also know in the book world is that they have announced that they are going to come out with books that basically rehash the old Expanded Universe books. They had ones that were called, Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales of the Bounty Hunters.
Oh, okay.
That these were all short stories told about the people that were the ancillary characters in those environments. They had said that they're going to come out with some books that sort of do a similar thing.
That interests me.
And then getting into Boba Fett, so, I've been playing the game, I think it's just called Star Wars Heroes. I downloaded it from my phone, and it's just like an absolute time killer. It will just suck your time away.
Right.
But you can, sometimes from these games, you can pull things by, who is this character? Oh, they must be in the new movie. But anyways, the Boba Fett character in that game has the ability to come back to life after he's been killed.
What?
So, obviously what you're getting at here is we're setting a precedent that, Boba Fett didn't really die. He's coming back, obviously.
Right. They did establish previously in the comic books that Boba Fett somehow got out of the Sarlacc pit.
And it was in the Expanded Universe book, Tales from the Bounty Hunters, his whole story of how he got out.
Which is no longer canon, but doesn't mean they can't. Because already with Thrawn, they brought back things that
bringing
were
back
canon
elements
and bring them back in now that they're part of
the greatest hits of the old stuff.
Right.
They're bringing back in, yeah.
So that could,
So we're definitely due for the Boba Fett movie. But the thing is, you could have any Tom, Dick, and Harry play Boba Fett, so there's no time limit there on any actors.
Right. Exactly. Because you're never going to see the guy's face anyway.
It would be nice to kind of throw him, if they have the Solo movie going. I don't know who it is, but the actor that's playing Han Solo young, if they could have them have an interaction and then bring that Han Solo actor back in for another Boba Fett movie.
Depending on where they put the Boba Fett movie, though, they could still get Tamora Morrison, who played Jango.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that is the cool thing about the fact that he was one of the original clones.
Right.
Is that they can go back and use him. The other cool thing, too, is the period of time where in Empire, well, between Empire and Jedi, where basically Boba Fett takes Carbonite Han to Jabba's palace.
Right.
Which the old novel Shadows of the Empire takes place in that same time period, too. There's been talk of doing that, because that book doesn't really heavily feature any of the main characters. It's a lot of
and it was
characters.
very popular at the time.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, Leia is in it, though. That's the only problem. They'd have to do something with Leia, but they could... I don't know if they're going to recast a younger Leia. I don't see that happening, but anyways, lots of places to go with Boba Fett. They left a big window of time open there from when he was young Bobo picking up his dad's decapitated head to when we see him in the original trilogy.
Yep. All right.
So that pretty much covers off our Star Wars talk for now. The next episode, I don't know, we may or may not get one in before the movie. I'm not sure what else much more we're going to have to talk about before the movie anyways, but we definitely will get a full episode discussion show after the movie. We know that, like we did last time for Rogue One.
Definitely.
But, I mean, what else is on the horizon here as we sort of go out of the end of the segment here?
Christmas is coming up, so... geek stuff.
It's really hard for me to see past the Star Wars movie right now.
It is. But, like I said, Christmas is coming up. We
got Black Panther coming up.
Black Panther in February.
Yeah, that's going to be good. We're really excited about it.
It's to the point where Marvel and Disney are now releasing so many films. You don't have to wait for summer for the blockbusters. I mean, now it's like every other month.
Yeah, I know. I mean, what's the point? I mean, and honestly, what you almost go back, like, what was the purpose of summer blockbusters anyways? Because now it's like, we just talked about it. We're busier in the summertime. We'd much rather go see a winter movie.
Part of it may have been, it's hot outside. AC wasn't as prevalent as it is today, so...
But, it doesn't seem to make sense anymore. Like, why do you have to release a giant movie in the summer?
Right.
I mean, the Star Wars is doing that with December. Like, no, that's really when you want to release a movie.
Exactly. I mean, so now, we got Black Panther in February. We have Solo in May.
I mean, we just had, Thor wasn't a big one, but, that just came out in, September? October. So, and we didn't touch on Black Panther, but next episode we will. We kind of had a lot to catch up on. It's only a lot of conjecture at this point. We basically only have a trailer, so
yep.
Maybe next episode we'll get into more Black Panther. But I guess go ahead at this point. You can take us out unless you have any last thoughts to throw in.
No, I think we're ready to move out to the outro.
Okay, so we caught up on a lot of Star Wars talk there last segment. We had a big catch-up lightning round for the first segment to catch up on the time that we had missed. And that pretty much covers this episode here, Michael.
Yeah, obviously we were gone for a little while, so we're committing to the 2 episodes per month, and maybe was a little bit ambitious of us.
Yeah, but we're on winter schedule now.
We're kind of on winter schedule, so we will be hitting it much more regularly. You'll see many more episodes from us. We'll be covering this winter. All kinds of topics. One thing we didn't include this episode.
Oh yeah, tease what's coming in the next episode.
Well, so one thing we didn't cover this time, that I don't know if it's going to be the next episode, but it's coming up. Relating back to our first year, I actually did go to my 25th high school reunion. So we will touch base on that. Yeah, not super geek.
Well, yeah, we'll revisit that. But also, there was another thing I was saying we have to tease, which is we do our 1 to 10 rankings list.
Yes, and we're going to tease that right now. It's top 10 cereals, breakfast cereals.
Well, we have to figure that, because we're going to have an issue with the cereal one too, because we could do a top 10 cereals, but then we also have what we try to do is what is the worst and what is the best, right?
Right.
Which is a 1 to 10.
Right. So we'll do that. We'll do a 1. I'm sorry. We'll do it that way.
Breakfast cereals.
Breakfast cereals, the worst to the best.
Okay, so go ahead and hit the call info there.
As always, you can email us at WNRDpodcast@gmail.com. So that is WNRDpodcast@gmail.com. Twitter is the same, twitter.com/WNRDpodcast. You can also find us on SoundCloud, where you'll find the last 2 or 3 most recent episodes as soon as we upload them and get them up. That's at soundcloud.com/WNRD. And as always, our archive, all of our episodes that we've ever done, you can find on YouTube. Just do a search for us for WNRD Podcast. It's on YouTube. So with that, I will be seeing you.
Take it easy.